Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Copilot Compass, now presented to you with new backgrounds.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so, uh, anyways, each week we take a deep dive into Microsoft 365 Copilot. And as always, I have the pleasure of being joined by my esteemed colleague, fellow Copilot enthusiast, and resident smart guy, Logan.
Thanks, Grant. Happy to be here.
And Logan, why don't you tell the folks at home a little bit more about what they can expect in this week's episode?
Yeah, so as always, we'll get started with our question of the week, and then we'll get into our topic, which is using Copilot in Microsoft Edge. So we're going to cover a few different use cases on how you can use Copilot, just when you're browsing the internet. So it should be fun. I'm excited to get into it. And make sure you stay tuned to the end for a sneak preview of what we have coming out next. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment.
Awesome, let's jump in.
Let's do it. Okay, so let's get into our question of the week. And remember, you can submit your own via comment on this video or by emailing the email address in the description. So this week, our question is, how does Copilot handle sensitive data and what should users be mindful of?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think, especially when we're talking with organizations that have not adopted Copilot or, any AI tools per se, it really is like security issues are one of the biggest factors. So, what I always like to say is Copilot doesn't create new security issues for you, but it can expose issues you already had. So, here's what I mean by that. We're talking about sensitive data specifically was in the question. Let's say you've got like an Excel file or spreadsheet that has C to C, like cost to company information of every employee at the organization that maybe your finance team is using or something. So let's say you have that file saved in like a SharePoint folder that, your finance team accesses or your payroll team accesses, and you mistakenly have it sitting in that folder, but you don't set like the permission. So, hey, it's only, X, Y, and Z employees that can access this file you created as like it's available to everybody in the organization. Now, before Copilot, like if you've got some like junior member of the team or like an intern, uh, they're not going to find that file. They'd have to like know the link to that SharePoint folder and then stumble across, probably various layers of, subfolders. And then if they found it and tried to click it and open it, yeah, they could open it. But like the chances of them stumbling upon that are slim to none. Now with Copilot, Copilot knows what you have access to. So if that intern has access to that file, and intern asks, hey, what is the cost to company of the CEO of the company? It would grab that information for you because it says Copilot recognizes, hey, you intern have access to this file. I can give you information from this file, and here you go. So in that case, Copilot didn't create a security issue. You already had a security issue. You had this file that was available to an intern that they shouldn't have had access to. So, I think Copilot, what I kind of refer back to is it doesn't like it's not going to create new security issues for you. I don't know anything to add to that, Logan?
Yeah, no, I think you covered, one of the biggest points right there. The other thing to keep in mind is that Microsoft is never going to use any of your
Yeah.
anything that you say to Copilot for its own training purposes. So that's not something you ever have to worry about, no matter what your security permissions are. But yeah, I think you covered the biggest one, that it could be a potential risk if you already have gaps in your security. So it could expose some issues, but it's not going to create any.
No, that's a good point too. Yeah, and I think that's the other thing. Like I'll talk with people that are newer to Copilot and they have concerns about. I'm asking Copilot to help me strategize on a go-to-market plan or help me pricing out our new product, and like that might be sensitive information that is proprietary and you don't want to have out in the public. And so they're saying, I don't want to ask Copilot this because I don't want Microsoft to see it. But you brought up a good point. It's going to stay right there in your tenant. It's kind of like your own little sandbox to play in. So, yeah. I'd say overall, it's very secure, and it, inherits whatever security information you already have.
Yeah.
All right, you ready to start talking about Copilot in Edge browser?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Awesome. All right, so let's talk about Copilot in the Edge browser. So there's a couple of things that it can do that we're not going to demo today just for the sake, we don't want this to turn into a 2-hour long podcast episode. Maybe we'll cover some of these in future iterations of the Copilot Compass, or future journeys, I should say. But it can compare open tabs. Like if you've got 3 tabs open with maybe different, products or something you're looking at, you can ask Copilot to compare these 3 tabs. Or maybe it's like the same news topic that's covered by 3 different sources, and you want to kind of get a consolidated view of those 3, news outlets. It can translate pages for you too. So you stumble upon something that's in French and you don't read French. Have no fear, Copilot's here to help, translate that material for you. Couple of things that we are going to demo for you today. And I should say that most of the demos that we're going to cover actually are available to you as a Copilot chat user. So if you're on, that free SKU, this is going to be most of what we're going to do today, rather, is available to you. Some of the stuff you do need to have that full M365 Copilot license. But what are we going to do? So we're going to talk about, you come across a long article, or a lengthy news story. You only got a minute to read through it, or 2 minutes. You can use Copilot to help summarize articles or pages that you're looking at, websites. You can also export some of those findings into like a Word document, so we'll show you how you can do that. You can, of course, as with anything, you can use Copilot as your Q&A assistant. So we'll show you how you can use Copilot to basically do chat and Q&A across a site that you're looking at. The next one that we'll talk about is having Copilot help you with research, and how you can, compare various, sites, various products, things like that. So kind of as your research assistant, so to speak. So with that, let's go ahead and dive into our first crow's nest.
Let's do it.
All right, so now we're going to talk about how Copilot can help you summarize a long article. So this case, we've got a news announcement here coming from Microsoft on multi-agent orchestration and maker controls and more with Copilot Studio. So these are kind of a summarization of announcements from Build 2025. Microsoft is super nice in their news articles. It shows you kind of an estimation of how long it should take you to read. Let's say I don't have 10 minutes. We've got something coming up in 2 minutes, but I do want to kind of capture the key points. So what I can do here is I can just pop open my Copilot. Pops up right here on the right screen for me, as it does with a lot of our apps as well. And then once it loads here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simply ask it to summarize this page. And we'll see it generate a summary for me. Now you can be more specific here. You can say, hey, give me 5 key bullet points. What are the new features? So, be more specific. In my case, I just said summarize it. And it kind of gives me, in my experience, it's typically like kind of a 1-minute quick read. So we can see here it's got major announcements, Copilot Studio enhancements, pro developer enhancements. So we kind of summarize security and governance in here too. So pretty neat stuff. Now, what I might want to do, let's say I want to share this out with my team. So I could certainly share this into Loop like we've shown you how to do before. I could just share, share this prompt, but that's not what I want to do here. I want to get the, what came out of the prompt. So maybe I just want to ask it, export this into a Word document. And what Copilot will do here is it's going to take this key information, and it should give me a downloadable Word document here. So it says it successfully exported the summary into a Word document. You can download it by using this link. You click on the link, it downloads the Word document for you right here. So pretty cool new feature here. The other thing that I might want to do here, and I'm going to go ahead and start a fresh chat with this since I don't want it to be confused with the Word document that I did, is maybe I want to ask questions about this. So maybe I'll say summarize the key announcements that will impact end users. Is it us as, more on the business and operations side? We don't care too much about multi-agent orchestration. We would care about what does the agent do for us. So here's what we can see here. So it's done some key announcements include this multi-orchestration, enhanced collaboration so they can delegate tasks to one another. Automating UI tasks, pretty cool. SharePoint and WhatsApp agents can now be built directly into SharePoint and WhatsApp. Very cool. So neat. You got any questions about this article, Logan? You're a bit more savvy with Studio than myself.
Yeah. How about one of the suggested ones here? How can I use the custom models?
Sure. We'll click on a suggestion. Why not? How can I use custom models? Oh, upload your own model. That's pretty cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. See, we're learning something today here.
Right.
Usually we're here to teach you at home. Today we're learning ourselves. Okay, pretty cool. So this is how you can use Copilot to help you summarize long articles or sites that maybe you just don't have the time to commit to read through everything or skim through it. So again, very cool summarization feature can really be, allow you to be very effective in the use of your time, in longer articles like this. Okay, so our next one, we said today is about Copilot and Edge browser. We were mostly correct about that. So this is not necessarily specifically an Edge browser use case, but um, it can really save you a lot of time from things that you would have typically had to do manually in your Edge browser. So let me explain. Let's say we are a small business. We are now going to upgrade. We've got like some older model wireless mice that we've handed out to our employees, and we're going to look to upgrade that. So we want to make a purchase decision on what type of, more premium wireless mouse we might want to use and hand out to our employees. Now, the old way of doing this, as people that don't, procure, buy, and sell mice on a regular basis, is that you go to Bing or Google and search wireless mice. Maybe you put in some price range filters and availability, and you look through a bunch of them, maybe skim through reviews, and that process is time consuming. If you really wanted to try to make the best decision, you're probably talking at least an hour of your time and looking through these reviews in different sites and comparing them. Um, or if you spend, maybe half that time or less, you might be missing out on like the best option just because you didn't get to it. You looked at maybe 3 or 4 or 5 of them and then moved on. So, Copilot is super helpful here. So, again, we'll stick with our scenario. Let's say our budget is, I don't know, what do you want to say our budget is? $75?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Help me compare the top 5 rated wireless mice. Include pros and cons of each. They should be less than $75 per mouse. Any other restrictions that we have?
I don't think so.
I'll say they have to be shipped somewhere in the US. Okay, let's just start here. This is another good one. So we don't know, hey, these seems like the kind of the sort of the cliff notes of what we need to look for. So let's start with this, and then we can see if, hey, there's information we're missing that, we don't want. So, all right, we've got a nice table here. We shows us the price, the pros, the cons. Um, didn't include ratings for us. So let's say, include user, or let's say, include ratings, customer ratings. There it is. Trouble thinking of the word there. Customer ratings for each of these. Okay, so we'll have it add in that piece. Multi-shot prompting example here. Okay. Still thinking for me here. Okay, so it's got customer rating now up here. Very cool. Okay, so now this is a little bit hard for me to like compare. I mean, I can kind of scroll through and look at the ratings and scroll through, look at the pros and the cons. So let's just say compare these in a table. Much simpler, at least for me and other visual learners at home. Still okay. And then you can see down here, we already showed you to export into a Word document. We could certainly export this into an Excel if we'd like to do our own filtering. It's got some additional fields in here that we can't see just yet. So it's got, okay, what's the battery type? What's the connectivity, pros, cons, price? Okay, very good. So yeah, this is one that, like I could have just typed in, hey, what are the top 5 mice that are available, they're wireless, into like a Bing search. But again, wouldn't have been very effective use of my time. In the course of what, 3-4 minutes here, we got a nice table, it includes ratings, it shows us the pros and cons, the weights, the sensor types. So now we feel a little bit more confident going into making this decision. In today's journey of the Copilot Compass, we talked about Copilot in the Edge browser. So we had a couple of use cases that we covered with you. We talked about, summarizing pages or articles that you're looking at in your Edge browser, using Copilot to do Q&A and ask questions, like specific questions about, what are you looking at? And then we showed you how you can take that information and export that into a Word document or, other shareable formats. We also talked about how you can use Copilot in your product research, so we showed you that demo of, we're looking to make some purchase of some wireless mice for our employees, and we used Copilot to save ourselves a whole bunch of time and do a thorough assessment of what's available out there on the market.
Yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy these demos. Yeah, I really like the purchasing options one. I feel like both in work and in my personal life, I take way too long making decisions. So that's it's not one that I've used before, but definitely something I'll use in the future there. Yeah, so hopefully that was helpful. And if it was, feel free to leave a like, subscribe, and comment. And remember that we have Q&A sessions every episode, so make sure you submit your questions. And remember that new episodes are coming out each Tuesday, and stay tuned to get a sneak preview of what we have coming out next.
Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.